All right, so this is another test that I'm running just to get used to broadcasting things for live streams. I'd like to be doing regular live streams at some point once we get the show up and running. If there's an audience that's interested in this sort of thing, behind the scenes, how we make things work, I'd like to be able to share that because it's something that interests me a lot. I guess obviously I've kind of built my life around animation and digital animation and storytelling, and yeah, if there's people who want to hear about that, I'd love to share it. I know myself, I'm a huge fan of behind the scenes stuff on DVDs and books, and so if I can start generating content like that people find interesting, then that'll make me very happy. So for this test, for the last one, I was just playing around with Google Hangouts to see about recording from the desktop, see how that looked, and it looks okay, so I'm going to carry on, and then this time I'm going to add a little audio just by narrating what I'm up to for as long as I feel like that is interesting. So basically what I'm doing right now is we've got this character right here. This is a Parenthesis Humor. She's the main character from the pilot we're going to be doing. And one of the big things about her is that I want her to be a very expressive character. It's going to be a very dialogue-heavy show, so I want the characters to be able to act. And since I know I'm going to be doing a lot of acting up front, I figured we would just we would kind of front load the characters with these very expressive features. So I got Minerva to do a bunch of expressions for the main character, and she's going to be sort of our test template. So we've got a whole bunch of different expressions here. And these are more that are going to even show up in the pilot. I'm kind of looking forward to it being picked up as a full series, and then we'll be able to reuse any of these expressions throughout. And my hope is it'll make the animation go faster if we have these expressions loaded and ready to go. So for the next couple of days, probably I'm going to be spending some time building these expressions, at least the eyes and the brows, in Toon Boom. That's they're going to be pretty complicated. So I'm going to be building these expressions in Toon Boom and just kind of taking my time making sure they look good. And like I said, I'll narrate what I can, but it becomes a lot of lather, rinse, repeat at some point. I'll probably just stop recording once it gets a little too redundant. I'm going to start with this. I've done these first two eyes yesterday. I start on this face now. That's kind of furious or angry eye. I'm going to start on this this eye here. So I do just kind of a rough outline of the shape of the eye. Get the lines roughly where they need to go. Whoa. And I had a thick and thin turned on there, but I really just want it to be a flat line. There we go. I get kind of a rough shape of the eye. I'm not too worried about details. I'll delete these little overhangs here. Turn on select mode where I can see all the different nodules. That's way more than I need, so I'll hit Shift-Alt-S. It's going to simplify the lines, get rid of some of the nodules. Now I'm kind of manually go in and just pick and choose the ones I want to keep. Normally with characters, and for a lot of the drawings in the show, I would just hand draw things. I wouldn't kind of sculpt them like I'm doing here. But because these eyes are so specific and they're going to be very expressive, and I want them to flow well from one eye design to the other, and I want them to look as tight and clear as possible, and they will have like probably the most amount of reuse in the entire series. Oops. I'm going to spend a little bit of extra time on them. I usually hand draw things because it's moving around on screen. You're not really going to be able to see a lot of the flaws that are in it. It'll be off the screen before you can really pay attention to those flaws. But with the eyes, it's the character, the face. You see the character's face a lot, especially the eyes, and so I want those to be as flawless or as nicely designed as possible, since they take up a lot of your attention and a lot of screen time. So right now I'm just placing nodes, erasing ones I don't need, creating ones I think I'll need. That might change as I move forward here. All right, and then I got kind of roughly the shape of the eye. And I'll just go in and kind of fine tune it, try to match it to Minerva's design here as closely as possible. Again, I want to keep it to the fewest number of nodes possible. And that'll be useful if I want to take this eye and tweak it slightly, which I know I'm going to need to at some point. I'm designing each of these faces, and I'm also going to need to design blinks for each of these faces as well, because I want transitions between expressions to look good. And the easiest way to transition between expressions is to blink between them. And because each of these expressions is kind of extreme, you know, one blink is going to work for all of them. So I'm going to need to do a few very specific blinks. So that'll be, you know, the open eye is what I'm kind of doing now, the halfway closed eye, and then the fully closed eye. And some of the expressions may just work with the you know, quote unquote fully open eye, which is right now this anger expression. They're already kind of squinty, so I don't know if I need a halfway between this and closed. But I might just do it anyway to be safe, because nothing interrupts the flow of animating worse than having to stop animating and build a whole new piece for the character. You want to just, once you get started on a path, be it design or animation or what have you, you want to stick to that path. You don't want to be kind of popping back and forth off and on it. Again, I'm just kind of sculpting this eye, trying to get nice pleasing arcs. Minerva spent quite a bit of time doing these expressions, so I want to match that as closely as possible. All right, move on to this part here. Now, one slight change I am making is the Minerva had these eyes being a closed circuit. On this expression, you can see the line work kind of closes up here. But I'm going to leave a little bit of an open gap, and that's just to kind of match it to the previous eyes, which had this open gap here. I'm worried that if there's a fully closed gap and an open gap, it's going to create like a flashing or strobe effect when you're swapping between the expressions. I might be overly worried about it. Might be a total non-issue, but I figure it doesn't affect the design that much. Better safe than sorry. This is going to be a bit of a long haul getting all these expressions done, so I certainly don't mind overthinking it just a little bit. It's safe. So that eye's looking all right. So the great thing about Toon Boom products, I think most of them do this now. I'm working in Harmony, but they all work with this. Every drawing or element has these different layers associated with it. So I've done the eye artwork that we see so far on this level here. This level here. So if I want to do any more eye artwork, for example, these little crease lines here, I might want to do those on another level. And that way the two different parts of the artwork won't kind of interfere with one another. And I also might want to just go back and borrow existing artwork, see how well it matches here. Because if I can have these artwork kind of start and stop in the same areas, or at least be the same size or the same, have the same amount of taper, the same amount of fatness in the middle. It'll help to pull it all together into one sort of cohesive piece and not seem like a bunch of very separate, disparate elements. Right. Go. Sharpen up a bit. Pull that down a touch. Maybe soften that curve a bit. That's looking all right. All right, and then got some eyeshadow on parenthesis here. So again, I'll reuse as much existing artwork as possible just to make sure things match. So you notice I cut and pasted this eyeshadow, and it's gone over top of those lines I brought in previously. I probably want to see those, so what I can do is I can select my gradient here, hold Control, and press the down arrow, the down cursor, and nothing happens because that's the wrong hotkey combo. Whoops. Sorry. Hold Control and press the page down key. That's what I want. And it reorders things. So pressing Control page down will bring things behind other elements on the same level. So on this level here. And Control page up will bring it in front. So you can help organize things that way. Great. I go back to my first level here, select my eye, fill it with black. I press K so I bring on contour mode. I can see where the contour is. I'm going to draw the grid tool. I don't know what it's called. Close gap. Close gap. Pretty straightforward. If I drag between close to two contours, it'll create sort of a path to help fill those contours. I can reshape it just like any other vector. And then that'll allow me to fill the eye there. We get our angry eye. I've already got a pupil in place from a previous eye. So that will probably work. So that's the eye we need, or the pupil we need right now. And I'm using a masking tool so that we only see the part of the pupil that is within that white area. See, we don't see anything of the pupil outside because that doesn't make sense. It's just a quick way to be able to reuse elements. There we go. I feel like I might actually want to tweak that eyeshadow a bit. And just pull that a little bit more. More of it kind of pulls out here towards the edge of the eye. Good stuff. Rock and roll, so I can move on to the brow now. And I'll just make those invisible while I'm working on it. And I may as well just borrow some artwork from this previous brow. So these are pretty similar. Just copy and paste that. And just go ahead and re-sculpt this brow. You know what, I'll get rid of that fill in the middle. So I'm just working with the contour, makes things a little easier to see. There we go. And just resculpting again. Not too thrilling, I apologize. I often like to keep my corner nodes perfectly sharp. And if I do want a bit of a curve, I'll just create a node sort of midway down the contour and then curve that. And then I know I've always got kind of a sharp corner if I need it. If I need a little bit of a curve, I can just pull it out a touch. But I'm just softening the corners. Basically, I'm not making the entire curve rely on just those corner contours. I might make an exception. There we go. So some really extreme brows there on parenthesis. Really pushing that expression. And then I'll add a couple of tension lines here. Oop, I'm going to switch to a different pen. I've got this slightly fatter pen. You can see it's tapered at the end. So I get some nice thick thin. Same deal though. I'll just keep sculpting with it. So remove those unnecessary nodes. There we go. Onion skin there by accident. I'll add a couple more. There we go. And simplify those as well, and then sculpt them out. These are such simple lines. I'll break that rule about just having the ends being sharp, and just pick one that's sharp and make the other one the curve. Turn off the contour tool there, so I can just kind of check it out, see how it looks. Feeling okay. A little weirded out down here. I might raise that a bit. Yeah, the shape feels a bit better. Oh, so I'll fill that, turn on my eyes, see what's up. So we can see the eyeshadow here, which is good, but we also see the eyeshadow here, which isn't maybe ideal because that would be folded skin from the forehead that's coming down here. So I'm going to go back in here and create a little bit of a patch so that when we're looking at the eyebrow, we are really just looking at the eyebrow. So I used, what's this tool called? That was the stroke tool to create a nice little simple arc there. And then I'll use the fill gap tool just to quickly fill those gaps there. My paint bucket tool, find my skin color, plop it in. There we go. We've just got the eyeshadow under the eyebrow, which makes sense. I'm not a makeup expert, but if we talk to Minerva, she'll probably tell me, yeah, if you've taken your eyeshadow above your eyebrow, you've probably gone too far. I can simplify this line work too if I want. Cool. All right, so there's one eye. Let's move on to the other one now. So I'll find my other eye, my timeline here. There it is. Go to pencil mode. Go back to my really thin contour there. Again, really quickly just trace the outline of the eye. I'm not closing it though. It's going to be a little bit open. Use a select tool. Just select and delete those guys there. Oh, one more part of the last eye that I completely forgot about. So over the course of messing with this, let me see if I can find one. There we go. So notice that the end of these eyelashes here are nice and smooth. The end of this eyelash has a bit of a chunk taken out of it. So what's happened there is just at some point during work, the start and end of the element got switched to flat ends instead of being round. So if I switch those around, you'll see it's created kind of a round cap at the end of each of those lines, and now it's filled in that space. So a nice habit to get into is that'll just occur sometimes. So a good habit to get into is just select everything when you're done, Go down here, select round, and it'll pop round ends on all your things there. All right, back to this. What do we got? So smooth this out a bit, reduce some of those nodes, and then go in and sculpt it out. Again, very time-consuming way to build a character. You'll get very precise results, which is nice. Again, depends on the style of the show. We worked on a show called Crack Duck for Byte Mondo, and it had a much more natural, kind of rough, organic feel to it. So I don't think I ever sculpted anything in Crack Duck. It was all just hand-drawn, and it really worked with the style. But for Parenthesis, I feel like there's going to be a lot more sculpted stuff going on. Again, because it's going to be, Crack Duck was a very sort of action-oriented show. Like there's a lot going on the screen, so things are constantly moving. I added a line boil to all the animation to just give it this kinetic sense of, the possibility of movement. And so if the line work wasn't absolutely crystal clear, that was fine, because things were just constantly moving, you wouldn't really notice. But again, like I said, for Parenthesis, my intent is for it to be a more dialogue-oriented show, comedy. So there'll be a lot more of characters exchanging dialogue, being very expressive, a lot more facial acting. And so that'll be a little bit calmer. We'll see a lot more of the characters on the screen. And thus the artwork should be a little bit cleaner. The cool thing about this eventually being a real Google Hangout will be that we'll actually maybe have some people in the audience. You can ask questions or entertain each other. And I don't have to rack my brain for things to say. Animation's fantastic. I'd hate to be doing anything else, but it is a little mind-numbing at times. You are definitely doing a lot of repeatable actions. It can get very meditative. It can get very zen. You can lose hours of your day in the simplest task. All of a sudden it's lunchtime and you've drawn, 2 drawings all day or something. Anyway, that contour is looking pretty good. I think I'm happy with it, so I'll move on. Go back to a previous eye. Grab this line work here. Copy it. Paste it. And then I won't match Minerva's line work precisely here. I'm going to keep that area up top there because it'll kind of make these 2 eyes seem a little bit more related. Let me pull this one down a bit. Since the eye is pushing down so severely there. See what we end up with. Yeah, that's all right. That feels all right. Very cool. And I'll fill, that's the wrong color. Fill that in. Again, use the fill gaps tool to just plug that little line there. And then fill with the eye color, and there's a pupil as well. Parenthesis is looking pissed. Very good. Right back on this level. Go to my default face, grab that eyeshadow, paste it here, control page down to push it behind the other elements. So I can see in this example here, now the eyeshadow is kind of poking out down here below the eye. So I could do a couple things. I could draw on this level, you know, I could just draw a little patch, fill it, and that would cover that up. But instead of altering that existing artwork, I might just tweak this guy a little bit here. Pull this down to like there. Add a node there. Delete that guy and pull up instead. So it's covered by the eye. There we go. All right, and then one more brow. So go back to a previous brow, and again, they're kind of similar here. So I'll just borrow that existing artwork. Make sure I'm on the right level. Borrow that existing artwork, paste it, get rid of the fill. So I'm just working with the contour and re-sculpt it a touch. Go down here. Oops. Oops. Here. Sculpt this a bit. Try to see where she's kind of broken that line. I think it's around here. There we go, something like that. I'll just soften that curve up a bit. Go with black. Draw that other contour. Oops, switch my pen. Thin. Go. Simplify that. Sculpt it a bit. Awesome. All right, use the stroke tool. And the close gap tool. And fill it. There we go. This is looking pretty pissed about something. The last thing I'll do is just check my anchor point so you can see the pivot point for the eye here is in the center. That matches with the other eyes. That's fine, that's great. Yeah, that's just great. Pivot point for the brows is actually off a bit just because I had to draw them in a whole new position. So what I'll actually do is now that I've drawn them in place, I'll just go into the art mode Turn my onion skinning, so I can see where the original brow was, and then just move this artwork up into position. So the anchor point is going to be roughly where the old anchor point was. Lo and behold, there it is. And it's skinning off. And then kind of move it back in position where it was. Something like that. And do it for the other one as well. It's getting on. Grab the whole thing, move her up. And it's getting off. Oops. There we go. And then, I'll make this easier for myself, I just make those invisible. Bring this back down. And get it kind of roughly into position there. Awesome. That works. Let's take here just to double check it. That's pretty close. Good stuff. And there we go. We got another expression. So like I said, it's this element of the production is going to be pretty time consuming, but we're going to make a lot of use of these eyes. This is depending on the design of the characters. I'm hoping to reuse the eyes for the girls and the mouths for the girls and eyes for boys and mouths for boys as well. So I can do some really nice, really expressive eyes, some really expressive mouths, and get a lot of use out of them. And then just change like the shape of the head, the nose, the ears, the hair to help differentiate between the characters. But we'll see what happens with that. We've just got a pilot at this point, and there's only 4 characters in it. 2 girls, 2 guys, so that'll be a great sort of place to experiment with a lot of these ideas. Anyway, I won't make you sit through another expression, because it'll really just be more of the same. I'm going to do this for each of these expressions that Minerva was nice enough to draw for us. When they're done, I'll let you have a peek at them. And when I move on to another more interesting, well, not more interesting, but another part of the character build, so either messing around with stuff in the network or building other parts of the characters, you know, something interesting, testing lip sync, I'll do another video for that. So, hope to see you then. Take it easy.